Good evening. Welcome to the Town of Redington Shores Board of Commissioners regular meeting. Today is Wednesday, March 10th, 2021, 6 p.m. This meeting will be conducted hybrid with attendees by Zoom and in person by commission only. Please rise for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll. Commissioner Blansky.
Present.
Commissioner Blackburn.
Present.
Vice Mayor Robinson.
Here.
Mayor Henderson. Here. Attorney Rubenstein. Here. Okay. I'm going to open the regular meeting and on the motion to approve the minutes of the workshop meeting, January 27th, 2021, special meeting, January 1st, 2021, regular meeting, February 10th, 2021, and workshop meeting, February 24th, 2021.
I make a motion to approve all the minutes of all those meetings. Good enough?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Correction? Mary, please call roll. Commissioner Blansky.
Yes.
Commissioner Blackburn.
Wait, I have one correction.
Oh, I hear.
Sorry.
I asked.
The workshop meeting, January 27th, it says tropical guide should be tropical dive. Sorry,
Tropical to.
DIVE. On the first page of the workshop meeting minutes, instead of tropical GUIDE, it's tropical DIVE. Minor adjustment.
I think we're having a audio problem. Cinda, can you hear me now or no?
Mary Beth, you're really muffled and your voice is not clear.
Can you hear me?
Anyone else?
You're better now.
I gotta hold it up to my face. And everybody needs to get close to their mics. Do it fast.
Test.
Yes,
You can hear that?
yes,
Good evening.
yes,
Test.
yes,
Fast.
yes. Mary Beth, try.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
So. All right, do you call the roll now? Yes. Commissioner Krasinski,
Yes.
Commissioner Blackburn,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson,
Yes.
Mayor Henderson. Yeah. Okay, moving on to ratification of the bills for February and March of 2021.
I would make a motion to approve or ratify the bills for February and March 2021. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yep, I do want to point out that the sewer bills for the 2 months are $65,000 and $70,000. So still very, very high. I look forward to Commissioner Krajewski's report later.
Okay. Any other discussion? Mary, please call the roll. Commissioner Krasinski,
Yes.
Commissioner Blackburn.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson,
Yes.
Mayor Henderson. Yeah. Okay, on to commission reports. I have a little bit of news with the vaccine. Governor DeSantis announced 76 more CVS locations to start offering the vaccine, including Pinellas locations. First Johnson & Johnson senior vaccination pod for seniors was held today, and they'll be holding more pods vaccinating 1,000 seniors a day with Johnson & Johnson vaccine over the next 3 days. Monday, age 60 to 64 age group are eligible for vaccines and will lower the age to 55 relatively soon. After the 55 plus group, Florida will probably be able to open up vaccines to the general public, moving quickly through the 50 plus and law enforcement group. Publix will be allowing residents to pick between the Johnson & Johnson or the Moderna vaccine based on the day schedule. I do have a phone number for those that cannot get on with the patient portal, and I've given the number out to a few people, and there were immediate appointments available. So that's pretty big. The number is 844-770 8548. So if you know of someone who doesn't have a computer or doesn't feel comfortable using a computer or have been just unable to get on, this is a great, very, very, very quick option. So that's all I have on vaccines. Our crosswalk is functional and working, and I have seen it over and over and over used. But please remember, it's new, and so people are not used to it there. So use extra caution when going near Del Bello Park right now. I also wanted to talk to you all about the special meeting on Friday that we're having. I know it is scheduled for 6 p.m. at the present time. After talking with Mary and Mary discussing with the supervisor of elections that what time that she thought they would be certified. They thought the certification would be done by 2. So I'm thinking anytime after 2 other than 6 p.m. on Friday night.
Sure.
It's been a long week. I don't know. Anybody want to do it any earlier than 6 p.m.? I know I would love for
No,
you.
6 is fine with me, but if you want to do it earlier, I'm okay with that too.
I'm
Earlier
fine
is-
whenever you want it.
Earlier is fine, I think.
3 p.m. Well, Mary was here late last night. I was just thinking we don't need to keep her.
Wait, hang on 1 second. Let me see. Oh, yeah. Friday's good, anytime.
We do it at 3. That'll get Mary out of here at normal quitting time.
Okay.
in the morning. So if everybody's
Okay.
good with me moving that meeting to 3 o'clock. But, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
And I
Okay,
have posted it already
We'll
for
just-
6, but I'll just change the time.
Okay.
perfect, that's fine, perfect. All
Rachel.
right, well, that is all I have. Vice Mayor Robinson.
Okay, if you notice the sign out front, it is Florida Flood Awareness Week. Sign highlights that. Turn around, don't drown, build smart, only rain down the drain. What you may not have seen is the work that Sherry did with Amir to post information on the website and on Facebook. I'd encourage everybody to look at that. More importantly, I'd encourage everybody to heed the information that's contained in there and the importance about being aware of the dangers of flood. Having Tropical Storm Eta not all that long ago, I think everybody's fully aware of that and what needs to be done. But I really want to thank Sherry in particular for jumping right on this when I asked and working with Amir to get that done. I sent to all the commissioners here just a few minutes ago a report or a link to a report from the Florida League of Cities. It is their revenue projection and study that they did for the next 3 years based upon the impact of the pandemic, suggesting that the state of Florida in 2021, fiscal year 2021, will see a reduction of $1.72 billion in revenue. The following year, 1.29, and in 2023, 0.88 billion. So quite a big hit. How that affects the town of Redington shores, we'll have to see. I do have a financial advisory committee scheduled for the 23rd of March at 2 p.m. We'll be discussing this, the proposed budget from the PD and a few other things as well, and begin talking about the 21-22 budget. I know it's only March, but October is just around the corner. It behooves us all to be thinking ahead, planning ahead, getting those notions in place that we want to include in next year's budget. So you'll hear more about that in the weeks to come. This time of year, we also hold a couple of important workshops. First of all, one on insurance, flood insurance, making everyone aware of what the importance is of that, the need for that. That's important to hold that workshop because it also is critical to gaining our CRS points and maintaining that. We'll get that scheduled here very, very quickly. There's been some little bit of confusion, not confusion, but a little bit of information coming from FEMA with regard to the flood insurance rate maps and whether or not they'll stick with those or whether or not they're going to a new vulnerability data that talks about potential for flood over the next 100 years. So that may have some impact on insurance long term, but we'll see. We're working very closely with the county, with Lisa Foster, to understand that. But we'll get that workshop scheduled here very, very quickly. Along with that, Mayor, I haven't mentioned it to you, but I think it would be good if we planned our spring newsletter, because that newsletter is when we include information about flood insurance. So that would be good to do. So this is my way of hyping everybody about it. Perhaps we can all think about what we want to include in that and try to get something out by the end of March. Okay, great. So that's it. And then we'll have a hurricane preparedness workshop in May, sometime in between that, because we have some turnover in personnel and commissioners. We'll also be doing a pretty significant, I think, tabletop exercise on disaster preparedness, so that we're all set for the hurricane season as well. And that, one other thing, sorry, the most important thing that I wanted to mention, when we adopted this new billing process for sewers, we're basing that on water consumption. So based on the amount of water you use, that impacts what your sewer rate is, or what your bill is going to be based on that versus the number of fixtures you have in your home. When we were going through that, the towers in particular raised an issue with the Financial Advisory Committee, primarily Kirby Howell, who did the workup on this whole report. And the problem that the towers mentioned at that time is that they don't operate individual unit air conditioners. They have a chiller system, and that uses water which evaporates and does not impact their sewer. So none of that water goes into the sewer system. It was Kirby's understanding, or his thinking, that the towers had a separate meter for that chiller. That's not the case. It is a meter. They do meter it, but it's somewhere down the line. So the meters which are read at the street, that would be included within that. And there isn't a way for the county to separate that out. I don't know, and I've talked with the county, I don't know that there is any other location that suffers the same situation that the towers does. I'd like to find a way to help them out. I haven't found one yet. I bring it before the commission. So if you have a notion or have an idea, I'll talk some more about the FAC about it, but that would be helpful. This is a unintended consequence. We thought we had a solution for it, but just the configuration of their water line and their meters doesn't do that for them.
Is that just for building 2?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Building 1 and 3, everybody has their own compressor and air handler. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and I know it's unusual since I'm just giving a report, because I know Chris Cook has to get, may be on the line now,
Mhm.
and she may have to go, she has to go to another meeting at 6:30. But I would ask Cinda, if Chris is on the line, if you could let her speak to this for half a minute with the indulgence of the commission.
Mhm.
They also build a pool there.
Yeah.
community pool there
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. Building 2 does.
The
Oh,
whole entire one
oh
pool,
yeah.
so it's a big pool.
Cinda, can you hear me?
Yes, Chris, you are permitted to talk at this time. If you unmute yourself, you should be able to speak.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
yes, what Michael was saying was exact.
Uh-oh,
Uh-oh, you must hit mute.
we lost you.
Okay, let me just see. Let me try one more time. Okay, Chris, will you?
Yep.
Okay, speak again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, yeah, Michael gave a good description of what the situation is, and I know I have also talked to Pinellas County Utilities early on, and we were not able to figure out how to make this work, other than putting in brand new meters out at the curb, which would be pretty costly at this point, and then putting new lines from the curb up to the building and where we need the water supply. So again, I'm asking for help from the town. You know, as you put forward this change to the methodology of billing, the assumption on our part, because I had brought it up a number of times, was that it was going to get resolved so that we were not forced to pay so much extra for sewage usage when we didn't really have it as usage. So whatever we can do to work together, I guess I'll attend the FAC meeting also, if that would be helpful, you know,
Yeah,
online, if you do it by Zoom.
Sure. It is going to be a Zoom meeting. And Chris, as I understand it from talking with you, that's about a $10,000 a year bite that you'd have to take, right?
Right. If we were charged sewer charges based on that water usage, it would be about $10,000 a year. Yes.
So again, I bring it before the commission, and thank you very much, Chris. I know you have to go to
Okay.
another meeting.
Yep.
But
Thanks.
I'm just bring it up before the commission in case they have a notion or an idea or a solution. If we could figure that out, it would be helpful.
And Chris, I will call you. Mary had told me that this was probably going to be brought up this evening, and I wanted to hear what Commissioner or Vice Mayor had to say first, but I will call you tomorrow.
That ends my report.
All right. Commissioner Blackburn.
Okay, not much to report. We talked about this last time, I believe, that Steve Jordan is retiring soon. And we have the employee that filled in while Brad was out, Michael Bafumi. He's been trained, Steve's been training him on pretty much everything the sewer related, and he's getting the lay of the land, and he and Brad and Steve are working well together. They have, in preparation for that, the shop being torn down and built up, they have gotten a lot of things cleared out of there. I asked them this last week it would be nice to have it to where everything, the only things left in there, I would like for it to be just the things that will go into the new building. So we had a dumpster out there for them to throw things in, and they're done with that now. The rest of it is just little stuff. So
Good.
that's going to get
Jane,
done.
If I could just comment.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of interaction with Michael. He's terrific.
He's,
I just
yeah,
want to I'm sure everybody else would agree.
he's
So,
very conscientious. Yeah. And he lives, you know, in North Redington Beach. We, you know, we have I think he might be the person to take over for Steve when he leaves. And I mean,
I just want to say too, we advertise through Pinellas. We advertise through P-Tech with their program for wastewater, and we didn't receive any hits from that. They did an advertisement through their way, so.
yeah, we did get an application, but because Michael Pafumi lives so close and he's already basically doing the job and getting trained for it, and he's very conscientious. I don't think there's any question.
So do we have to take some action on that at some point, or, you know,
We will have to.
if Steve is leaving the end of the month?
I think he's changing to the second to the third.
April 2nd.
Okay,
And he's going on vacation first, right?
that will be before we have another meeting.
Yep, sure will.
Hmm.
So,
Do I need to make a motion?
Probably so.
I make a motion that we offer Michael Pafumi the full-time, public works job.
second,
Okay, are we gonna talk about hourly rates, or how we're gonna do that?
We could discuss that, you know, as far as that in the,
He's the
Tomorrow.
person. It would be basically the standard rate. He's been getting just a temporary employee rate. So,
Okay.
but that would be he would get an increase up from what he's getting now. I'm not sure exactly. I would have to meet with Mary.
Yeah, I'd agree. We've all had interaction with him. He's a hard worker.
He's the
and,
guy.
yeah.
Plus he texts.
That's good.
So
I
convenient.
think he's got, I think he's
Something's going
smart. I
on, he
think
just takes a picture of it and sends it to me.
he catches on quickly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Quick
it's kind of
study.
nice because we
Yeah.
have been able to try them before we buy them.
Yeah, that's always good.
And-
There's nothing wrong with that.
All right. Okay. See the maintenance.
So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on that?
No, just, this is an offer of employment based upon his acceptance of whatever rate we come up, which is a reasonable rate for the position.
All right.
Okay, Mary, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Krasinski,
Yes.
Commissioner Blackburn,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson.
Yes,
Mayor Henderson.
Yes.
The only other thing before the fire report is the parks. I gotta say that I got a lot of support for the idea of the dog park. Every person I've talked to, every place I've gone, especially when I have my dog Kevin Ferguson with me, there's a lot of discussion about the dog park. So it's really supported by the community. They're really looking forward to it. So, and then with that, if Heather, you want to give the fire report?
Okay. Yeah, this is nice.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners.
She can hear you.
Cindy, can you hear me?
Hola, Cinda.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. Good evening, everyone. Heather Burford, I serve as a fire chief for the City of Seminole Fire Rescue Department, one of two departments that serve you here in Redington Shores. I have the monthly report for fire and EMS calls. Month of February, we always do it in arrears, of course. This report has been submitted to Commissioner Blackburn. So in February, we had 2 non-emergency fire responses for the response time of 8 minutes and 9 seconds, and there were 7 emergency responses for the time period with an average response time of 8 minutes and 30 seconds. On the EMS side of the house, we had 7 non-emergency EMS responses, 4 minutes and 29-second average response time, and 16 emergency responses for an average response time of 4 minutes and 36 seconds. We're all within compliance here for these calls. It was a pretty typical month, if you will. We're starting to see a little uptick in activity, which is a good sign. It gives us an indication that the tourists are back, hopefully spending their money here. I can tell you that I was in contact with Mayor Queen last week. We had a short discussion about the status of the fire station, and things are continuing to progress with the county there. Not a lot to report, but I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
so when you say continuing to progress, give me some timeline or some what does that mean?
Well, a timeline was laid out very well in the documentation that the county had at one of their Board of County Commissioner meetings, and I don't have that with me, but I want to say that ribbon cutting was anticipated the end of 2022 for the fire station, beginning of 2023. It sounds as if there is a negotiation that is ongoing about the fire station costs, are my understanding. That initially, the monies that were discussed, the estimates have come in a little bit higher. So the county is continuing to work with the company that has been contracted to do that estimating. So it's sort of a back and forth at this point.
All right.
I can get the details on the schedule if you'd like
I
them.
just want to make sure it's not falling off the.
I get the impression
the
it's
rails.
certainly not falling off the rails. It's just that there was maybe a little bit of sticker shock. Construction costs are up. There's such
Yeah.
a demand right now. And I think perhaps that wasn't anticipated. It's kind of a different building, if you will, and having to build to FEMA standards and whatnot. It's just a little bit more of a challenge.
Yeah.
I get no indication that there's going to be any, real issue. Maybe a little bit of just back and forth at this point.
Thank you.
Sure.
Great. Thank
Thank you, folks.
Nothing else?
That's it. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Price.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Before I provide the commission with my update, I want to take a moment to express to the mayor, to the commissioners, the town residents and business owners that going forward as a result of yesterday's town elections, it is clear that the commission has the support of its constituents, and I'm very optimistic at town hall, including the interactions of the town commission, will be carried out with the utmost professionalism and respectfulness to all.
Here, here.
Okay, sit back, Mike. You asked for it, you're gonna get it now. Sewers.
Thank you.
Actually, you quoted that number. I think it's actually down from the previous month. I thought it was in the 80s. It was around 80K the previous month or so, or
I could swear.
I thought it was, but
No?
anyway, I know it's down, but it's still high. And, you know, we're working diligently to address it. And as I go through my report, I'm hoping the actions that we're going to proceed with over the next probably 6 to 9 months will start to see some type of improvement in the buildings. I wanted to share, first of all, the takeaways from the Gulf Beaches Board of Directors, Library Board of Directors meeting that was held on February 22nd. Given the COVID restrictions, activities continue to be steady with both the overall circulation and the circulation by town patron residents. It's about flat month to month, but it's still up. It's not ticking down. And that relates to our residents here in Redington Shores. The library director has initiated a community outreach program. He started with, and he's going to be starting this with the upcoming community day that's being held on April 17th. And the town commission is I am recommending for the town that we leverage for our town and the children, possibly doing something similar in Redington Shores, maybe towards the summer months once we get into that and the children are out from school. I think it'll be a perfect opportunity to try to leverage his team and his staff and have them come out. They're in the process of ordering a tent that will be used to shadow, I guess, both the participants as well as the people from the library. So this is, from what I understand, has been well received. He's tried this once before, so I'm hoping we can do something here for our constituents. In addition to the community outreach program, the library director and his team have been spending several days a week at the library kiosk located in Treasure Island. As most of you know, that was a concern, and I know, Jenny, firsthand, you know that. That kiosk will only accept library cards. So unless you have a library card, then you can't really take advantage of it. So he's taking the opportunity several days a week to start to staff that at the Treasure Island kiosk location. So I think that's a great thing. And that will also then give the residents of Treasure Island the opportunity to participate and go elsewhere in the library facilities located in Pinellas County. And last but not least, related to the library, there was some maintenance work that was done, that was performed last week on the air conditioning system as well as the ventilation ducts. So good stuff as far as the work that was progressing at the library. Now on to the sewer system. Since our last commission workshop meeting last month, the majority of the emergency sewer lateral work being done on Gulf Boulevard, located at the Wine Knot in the Vasebo business location by Miller Pipeline and Shenandoah teams. The I&I was completed. Determination was made of the locations of the lateral blockage, and they were cleared out, and it's flowing now at approximately 80%. There's still some more work, and I'll explain more of that as I go through the report. Part of that work also was to dig out approximately a 5-foot deep trench, and it was about a 4x4 piece of sidewalk cement that was basically taken out and then replaced, and we actually inserted a new clean out access in that same location where the concrete was pulled away. It's kind of interesting, when we were going through the I&I, there somehow, and it's fairly new, the sidewalk, they had paved over or poured cement sidewalk over a cleanout valve that was below ground level. So I guess when the people who were out there, utilities, cable, whoever it was that took up that that piece of sidewalk. When they replaced it, they just covered over it. So we put a new clean out there, which is on the right of way. So this has nothing to do with the property associated with either business property. The next steps are to clean out and to scale the laterals. The laterals were cleaned almost to the median. There's a grass median there on Gulf Boulevard on the northbound side. So we're going to continue with that work over the next couple of weeks with the descaling and clean out. In addition to that location, we're also going to get down to the property where the San Vista Motel is located and clean those two laterals out that are on Gulf Boulevard also, because there was some concern there in the past, not as significant that was experienced by the people at Why Not. So want to clean those laterals out. And then once all the work at Why Not, the SIBO and the San Vista locations are completed, basically all those laterals, Miller is going to come back out. They ordered a special, it's called a diamond, a 5.5-inch diamond chip chain, which actually does all the cutouts. So they're going to try to get that pipe that exists, the existing pipe, without breaking it, hopefully. If they get it, the one they have now is too large, and they're afraid if they push too hard, we might wind up with a swimming pool on Gulf Boulevard. So that's not what we're looking for. So that's on back order, and it's going to be about another week or so before they get that chain in, and then we'll have that work completed within 2 weeks once the chain arrives. Okay, as far as the costs, there's invoices, and we'll talk about that later in both the new business and old business associated with this stuff. Not all of the invoices are in, but we will chat about that. I also, as a result of the workshop meeting, I mentioned that I was going to reach out to Attorney Denhart to make sure that we could share the PCU report that was given to us. The Attorney Denhart had no issue with it, so I did forward that particular report on to Miller Pipeline for them to review and get back to us. But as you know, too, when we were discussing that at the workshop, those numbers seemed a little out of line compared to what they think they can repair this system for us. Second to last. During the past week, I discovered something to my surprise, that we had purchased a sewer camera about 10 years ago, the town did. And it was being used by our maintenance team. And it broke down somewhere between December 2019 and January 2020. So we've been basically operating without a camera in the town for close to 14, 15 months, through the math, which again, I couldn't get an answer that I felt was satisfactory as to why. All I do know is that it's pretty old, so it was determined it couldn't be fixed. It was better to probably hold off, but there was no additional concern about purchasing a new one. And I also have that there's something in your packet here that we'll discuss later in the meeting about a proposal to purchase a new camera.
That's the camera that you used to go in and check out
Yes,
the
this will be
sewers, right?
Okay, so there's two types of cameras.
Mhm.
There's a camera that's made for the sewers. That's very expensive and very complicated for the main lines.
Mhm.
We don't want a camera. That cannot be used for the laterals. This is going to be used for the laterals only. So that will also hopefully eliminate some of the costs we've been bearing by hiring private plumbers to come out. and
With
do
their
the-
cameras?
With their cameras.
Okay.
And we actually had that situation last weekend, where we actually had to hire a plumber to come out and actually scope the line down the street, not at Vasilo and Why Not, but further down at Lockhart's facility. 17555, Mary, was it? And that, it's catty corner to,
It's a gray two-story building?
yeah, exactly, yeah, to Wahoo's. So we'll talk more about that. And last but not least, I did talk about a strategic project plan for rehabilitation of the town sewer system. I'm working on that. At this time, I'm not ready to bring that plan forward yet. Obviously, with all this additional work that's been going on, I would prefer to hold off on that before we put some timelines together and come up with a proposed date to work on. That's my report.
I thought the San Vista, we had already done work
We
on the
had
laterals
some
there.
work done there, but there was still some issue with, they had done some work themselves too.
Mhm.
But it's my understanding, and I think the call came in actually before I took over supervising the sewer system. So I think that came in sometime in the late January, late December, early January, and nothing was ever done about it.
But San Vista?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was done. Okay.
Well, whatever was done was, and apparently they had lifted up when we first brought them out a couple of weeks back at the Vasivo and the Wine Nut.
Mhm.
And they actually gone in those two laterals that are located on the right of way in the grass area. They were installed. They had actually been installed, I guess, what, 6-8 months ago, Mary?
Oh,
Those the cleanouts. There were 2 new cleanouts that were put in.
okay.
So since we already are in that location, we're working to clean out the other lines. We'll make sure these lines are clean, and then we'll line all the 4 laterals. Okay, so we'll have that all clean.
Infiltration.
Yes,
is by the sand was-
yep.
Thank you.
All right. Any questions?
Good information. Good report. Good to know.
All right. Moving on to old business. At this time, we'll be opening the public hearings. And the item on this portion is the second reading and advertised public hearing of ordinance 21-02, amending the flood ordinance.
Ordinance number 21-02, an ordinance by the Board of Commissioners of the Town of Redington Shores pertaining to flood damage prevention, amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 90, Land Development Code, Part 1, Buildings and Building Regulation, and Part 2, Flood Damage Prevention, to amend the Florida Building Code and to provide criteria for accessory structures in flood hazard areas, providing for applicability and severability, and providing for an effective date.
I'll
Well, yeah. we voted on the motion.
Then open up for discussion.
Okay, just comment and just have a
Yeah.
vote. Okay. Linda?
Yes, at this time, will permit our attendees who have a statement to make 3 minutes on this subject. If you would like to speak, just please press the raised hand icon and identify your name and your address. Right now, we have 14 citizens on the line. We do not have any phone attendees. And if anyone is interested in speaking, please press the raised hand icon at this time. Okay, commissioners and Mayor Commissioner, I do not believe we have anyone wishing to speak on this subject at this time. Thank you.
Then I'll make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 21-02.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
Yeah, as I mentioned at the first reading, I do have some concerns about this with regard to its potential impact on NFIP, on the National Flood Insurance Program. We need to monitor this very, very closely, and if we get any indication from FEMA that this won't fly or it'll cause us some jeopardy, we're going to have to change it. So, as I said then, I feel the same way now. I sympathize with residents who want to improve their property and improve their homes, and I encourage them to do that. And at the same time, trying to balance that in what we need to do to make the town more resilient to flood and hurricane.
And I do share your concern, but. people spoke.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I understand.
We are. This will try it and see,
Yep.
First, I tried to get the exceptions and that didn't seem to satisfy it, so I had to do something. It may not work. I don't know. Time will tell.
Yes.
So, any other discussion? Mary, please call roll.
Commissioner Krajewski,
Yes.
Commissioner Blackburn,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Henderson.
Yes. Okay, so at this time, I'm closing the public hearing. And moving on to old business item number 2, update on sewer rehab project, the lateral and manholes.
Yes, so as part of my commissioner report, I did give you an update. One thing I should have noted is you have under tab 2, a proposal, and we'll speak to that in a minute, which had to do with the discussion from Shenandoah and Miller at our workshop. But there are some pictures. I know I saw Jimmy's eyebrows went up a little bit. If you go to those 2 pictures that are listed, that's exactly, you can see there. It's kind of a little funky because it's a little hairy, but that's the buried cleanout. That's the picture of the buried cleanout. And they dug that all out.
That you with the shovel?
No, it wasn't.
We don't
I
pay
went-
him enough.
But I think they might have got my sneaker there. I'm not sure. So anyway, yeah, it was incredible. And they replaced some, and it's all, by the way, PVC too. So they didn't, when they went back in, they made sure they put the right proper materials there. So, all right. So going back to this proposal, if you remember at our discussion and the workshop, Butch and the team were pressed a little bit to give us an estimate as what it would cost to do the INI, the laterals in the town, as well as the manholes. At that time, I don't think he had given us the cost of the manholes. So this number, obviously, I think it was in the neighborhood of 60 some odd thousand. So the number went up for the laterals to 70,455. And then there's some inspection work that was beyond 30 feet that you put in for $550. And then the additional manhole inspections, 11,400. So the total cost of the INI, and this was again to make sure we understand exactly where we have the problems or where we need to address it. We're not going to go back over anything that's been already rehabbed. So this is a proposal that was given by Miller. So at this point, I don't know, is the motion appropriate here or?
Well, it is part of the original contract.
Right. And I was just going to say, we are leveraging, by the way, I should mention that too. We are leveraging the Lee County contract with all this work too. So the numbers are, if we weren't under that contract, they'd be
It's just
significant.
the next step.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, as we, or you're gonna make a motion or what's that?
Well, should I?
Do you need one or, yeah,
I know, I'm asking, do we?
Well, you originally accepted the
Yes.
rehab by motion and second in the vote, with the contract and piggyback. And then
This was prior
the
to.
next step.
Yeah.
And it was part of the budgeted amount that was. in the
Right, I was just gonna say, it's also included in the budget. So
Right.
this is probably more for FYI information purposes.
and, I thought the workshop was fantastic because, they came prepared, they gave us some straightforward answers and a lot of detail to it. What we asked for was a proposal that would help us understand better where our problem is and where the worst problem is so that we can focus our attention on that first. And going back to your earlier comment to me about the sewer bills, our expectation is that with the volume of water that the town purchases that comes in, our sewer volume should result in a bill somewhere around 45,000. And we're 65, 70,000 these last couple of months, and that's consistently that way. So expending this work, finding out what the problem is and doing it intelligently that way, I think is a great move forward. So thank you.
You're welcome. All right. The next piece, if you page through a little bit further past the pictures, when I was on the phone with Butch, I said, Butch, when I found out about this, I called him. I said, hey, what's going on with this camera stuff? And I said, can you at least kind of give me some ballpark figures of what we're looking at as far as the purchasing of it? So he pulled up some stuff here that he found online. Some of this, the quotes in here, either the cables, basically coax, that's what the camera runs on, pretty much the coax cable that you get if you had a cable TV, but it's obviously reinforced and everything else. So there's some numbers in here, and they go from a low end, which probably wouldn't do us much good, around 4,500 to 5,000. And then if you page through, and actually there was an update given to you, it's a color copy from Hughes MP Plus. So if you would page through to that particular page, or if you didn't get inserted,
I actually laid
the new one on top.
Oh,
Yeah, just so you know too, the one that came
I
in.
thought she was saving.
Yeah, so what happened was, Michael,
Printing.
and the rest of the commissioners and mayor, is the original proposal, when I gave them the specs of what I was looking for after discussions with some of the guys in Miller and Shenandoah. And
For the
then
camera,
talking
you
to
mean?
Brad, they didn't include the optional locator. And that cost of that is around $1,800.
Oh.
And that cost was quoted, but it didn't give you the full picture, what the bottom line would be all in to purchase this camera. So what we're getting in this proposal of $12,800, just shy of $13,000, is we're going to get a self-leveling camera, which basically means as they're pushing that through, there's no issues with any way kind of maneuvering through the laterals. You're getting a color monitor so we can make sure we can kind of identify what we're really looking at. There's a USB capability so we can record everything that we find. Now, this particular manufacturer here that we got this quote from, in talking to Brad and to Steve, they said in some cases the lateral might be as far as 400 feet. Well, most of these cameras only go about 300 feet. And I don't know what the specs are on our old camera. I couldn't find much, but I'm sure. So anyway, I asked him to basically resend us the bill, which would be an all-in cost. And then the optional locator, basically as the camera's going through, and this is similar to the type of camera that Miller and Shenandoah use, they can actually then beam up, for lack of a better term, exactly
where they're at.
Like
in the line.
GPS?
Yeah, almost, yeah, like a GPS. And so I thought that was appropriate too, given the fact that in some stretch, especially on Gulf Boulevard with these laterals on this side of the east side of Gulf Boulevard, go across into the main, you're looking at, some significant lineage. So that's what we have in front of us right now. It's approximately 13,000 and
So can I ask a question?
Sure.
Finished or not?
I'm done.
Okay. So do you have any information on the experience of our maintenance team using the camera that we had when it was working? Is it something they used? Is this something that sits on the shelf? Because, we haven't had a camera for over a year and we haven't heard anything about it. So I'm just wondering how we've gotten the work done, or,
That's a kind of an interesting question, because before I took over the sewer responsibility, I got the phone call about Friendly's having a significant problem way back about 2 months now. And at that time, the only way that they could do anything, and of course there it was mostly on private property, was to go in with their cameras and actually locate where the problem was. Now, my understanding is in the past that our maintenance team were trained to use the camera. And also included in this quote is training of our maintenance people. So it's not only getting the equipment, but we're getting the training of our staff too, to use the equipment. And I think that a couple phone calls here and there before we get this work done, I think we could probably, if we didn't have to pay for a private plumber, we could offset that cost and pay for the camera in and of itself and not have to go out, and we can get our maintenance team to help out on that.
I've got a question also.
Sure.
So North Redington owns their sewer system. Do they have a camera? Do you know?
I don't know that.
I would be interested to find that out. And if they don't, would they be interested in
Sharing?
shared?
Okay, that's a great idea.
call sharing.
Huge, yeah.
Because we are trying to do this
Okay.
with them a lot.
Yeah.
And we are the only two people that I know of in all of Pinellas County that own their own sewer.
I
So,
will call Bill tonight.
I don't know, just think it up.
I think it's a great idea, Mary Beth. Thank
Yeah.
you. So that's it on the cameras, and I'll wait till we go into new business.
Okay, so
More
we're
on the
not,
sewers later.
okay, so then we're not going to.
No, I think we
make
should
a motion,
all. I
let's
mean,
just
it's a,
call
yeah, I
Redington
think it's a
first.
great idea. Again, I wanted to share as much information and
yeah.
get this out here. So I'm not looking for a vote tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. All right, third item is acceptance of volunteer committee application.
Yeah, we brought this up and talked about it at the workshop. Lisa Hendrickson was kind enough to send me a copy of the application that they use for boards and committees at Pinellas Park. I plagiarized that and came up with this form. I think all of us on the commission agree that it's important to try to get more involvement by residents here and to give them an opportunity to do that and to find a way to draw them into managing the affairs of the town. It's their town. It's good for them to do that. This form does that. I frankly wish that I'd have come out with this several months ago, because we're in this time period now where April is when we normally fill positions on commission and boards where there's going to be an expiration of a person's membership. Their term is over. We need to find out whether they're interested in renewing their membership or staying on the commission, whether or not we need to change that out or whatever. I thought I had all of that material in front of me so I could bring it to you, but Mary will certainly provide that all to you, because we would want to try to get that done in April. So there are not only committee members whose term expires that we need to determine if they're your representative, whether or not they're interested at all in continuing, and then whether or not you want to bring their name forward, because the commission as a whole votes on that. And in addition to that, there are several vacancies on the FAC, for instance, because of Bill becoming a commissioner, HR, because of resignations as well. So as I say, I wish I would have had this form out there before this, but nonetheless, we'll get the form posted on the website. But I would encourage commissioners to take a look at their representatives on the various committees and the P&Z whose terms may be expiring, and determine whether or not you want to bring those names forward, or if there's someone else that you want to bring forward. I would also, I already mentioned that the FAC meeting is on the 23rd. If you have anyone that is obviously interested in one of those vacancies, Bill.
I do.
And I think there's one in the second District 2 as well. If you have somebody that's interested, they ought to sit in on that meeting. They can at least listen in and get a feel for what that is all about. So I don't know if we need a motion on this form or not. Unless there's an objection, we'll just post it on the website and encourage people to fill it out.
So Michael, are you saying also we want the existing board members to fill this out too, since this is something that's on file based on?
Yeah, should we?
Meeting is for 1 year?
I don't know that that's necessary. We're trying to
Okay.
draw
We'll fill
other
it,
new
we'll
people in.
fill out
because,
the vacancies.
because
and-
Mary,
Yeah,
Yeah, Mary gets calls, Sherry gets calls from people that are interested, or people, sit in on one of our meetings that have an interest. This will be a way to document their interest and for us to be able to see
Mhm.
and to encourage.
I think it's great, by the way.
We're missing the letter R at the bottom.
1 year. The last. very
1
last
year.
word.
Oh, 1 year.
1 year. For 1 year.
All right, we'll get that
You
done.
ruined it. I didn't want to bring that up. I noticed it though.
I left the R off on purpose so that you see if somebody
Yeah.
catch it.
Because it sounds like Mary. 1 year.
I was gonna say something, but I didn't do it. And I would say,
Uh-oh.
if I did, I would
Oh,
say-
she's pointing the finger.
But I'm not gonna
Wow.
throw anybody under the
Okay.
bus.
All right, cool. I just wanted you to know I was paying attention. That's
Yeah,
all.
okay.
Always, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to new business. First item is awarding the bid for digital media archiving. All right,
Well, Cinda, is Sherry on the line? Cinda?
it takes a minute when I've done with that.
Oh, Cinda?
It takes just a minute for her to get.
Yes, I don't have Sherry. I'm wondering.
I
Yep, I have her as Mary. Okay, hang on 1 second. Okay, Sherry, you are permitted to talk. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, Sherry here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, Sherry.
Okay.
We hear you.
Okay, so Sherry, since you, went ahead and, investigated all these different companies and the digital archiving, if you gave a wonderful memo to the commission, I guess at this point, if any of the commission have any questions, if you would refer them to Sherry.
I want to say Sherry did a marvelous job with this report.
Yeah.
Really good job. can
I talked with
totally-
Sherry extensively about this earlier today, and talked about the various quotes that she had and why she recommends the one which she did, which is, I can't remember the name of it now.
Smarsh.
Yes. That they're the company that has the most experience dealing with government, as opposed to the others. Very well suited. She had some interaction with them and found them their integrity to be high, which is important as well. I too thank Sherry for doing that work and everything else she does. I also talked with Mary to make sure that we had the money in the budget for this, and we do. That'll come out of our microfilm data storage line. There's plenty of money there, and we're just moving to a new way of storage, so that works.
I thought it was kind of cheap for what they're doing.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised.
I think it'll be, and Sherry says it as well. I mean, this will be a big improvement to their ability to, and what is required for us to maintain all of this data, and to be able to search it and to be able to respond to requests for public records more quickly and more thoroughly, without any doubt.
Yeah, I do have a question. On the Smarsh, second page of 5, they talked about import and export and storage, and they're talking in gigabytes. I don't know if anybody has kind of taken a swag, I guess. I won't say all what the acronym stands for, as to whether or not we're talking about gigabytes or we're talking about terabytes. So there's a significant amount of stuff, right? So I want to make sure that we're going to not get shortchanged on what the costs are going to be to store this stuff too. Sherry, you have any idea about that?
So when Mary and I had met, and then through my discussions with the representative that I work with, especially with Smarsh, they have a general idea of how much communication takes place, per line. and things like that. And they thought that we would be well within, those boundaries. And I can only take their word, and their expertise. If, he had assured me during our initial discussion that he would have included it if he thought that we had gone over in that initial download, if you would say, or surge of information.
Then I'm fine with that. That was the only thing when I saw that, that was the only question I had as to whether or not, because sometimes it's great when you're kind of under the radar, so to speak, or haven't hit the max, but then when you start hitting the max, all of a sudden costs start to escalate. So that was my only question, but I think it's a great job. Thank you very much for both Mary and
Sharon.
Sherry.
So I would move that we contract with Smarsh for a cost of $1,050 for setup, $2,420 for an annual cost for data storage.
I'll second.
Motion and the second. Any discussion? Further discussion? Cinda, I don't know if anyone, the attendees, wish to speak.
Yes, if we have 14 attendees right now. If there's anyone wishing to speak, please raise your hand. When I call on you, you'll have 3 minutes. And if you just give us restate your name and your address, and then begin with your comment. So anyone with an interest, please raise your hand at this time. Again, we don't have anyone on the phone at this certain time. We have no attendees at this time wishing to speak, so I believe this would conclude our public comment. Thank you.
Mary, please call roll.
Commissioner Krajewski,
Yes.
Commissioner Blackburn,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Henderson.
Yes.
Sherry, thank you again.
Yes,
for a
Sherry,
great
thank
job.
you.
Nice job.
Okay, second item under new business is ratify the sewer emergency repair work. You again.
Yeah, it's good. All righty, so you have, you did receive something in your packet. There was a proposal. It was listed as a proposal, but then there was an accompanying invoice for the initial work that was done to do the work at the Sevo and at the Wine Knot. So at this time, I would like to move to ratify and pay the bill, the invoice submitted for $6,063.50.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? I did have a question about the concrete sidewalk replacement. Can we get some sort of, find out who covered that up?
I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole. I just, I mean, I'll look into
No,
it,
I think it's fine.
but I didn't want to hold up or start
Oh, no, I
to
don't want to hold it up.
point
I just didn't know if
fingers
we
at
figured
people.
out who did that.
Well, there is a green utility cap, whatever you call it, that sits up about 2 feet high, right next to the utility pole. So,
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it was 2,000, I'd be concerned.
I am.
Yep.
Okay, any other discussion amongst the commission? Linda?
Okay, if there's anyone here at this time of attendees, we have 12 that would like to speak. Please raise your hand and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Please restate your name and your address when I call on you. Anyone interested, please raise your hand. I think I said we have 12 attendees right now.
thank you.
No one has raised their hand at this time, so I believe public comment can be concluded on this subject. Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy.
Mary, please call roll.
Commissioner Krajewski,
Yes.
Commissioner Blackburn,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Henderson.
Yes. Okay. Moving on to public comment. Linda, you again.
Coming back on. Okay, at this time, we have 12 attendees at our meeting. If anyone wishes to speak at this time on a subject not previously discussed, please raise your hand. I will call on you and you can restate your name, address, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. Anyone interested, please raise your hand at this time. We have no attendee. Oh, we do have one. Jerry Music has just come on. Jerry, I will permit you to talk. You have 3 minutes. Restate your name, address, and you are ready to go. You can unmute yourself.
This is Carol Music. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Carol.
I wanted to talk about the sewer and water charge. You said earlier that when you were talking about the towers, when they had excess water charges, and how you delineate that from the sewer charges for houses, in particular with swimming pools, when there are leaks with swimming pools and water leaks. How can you determine or delineate in that kind of situation? For instance, you get a water bill every 2 months. So if you have a big swimming pool leak, like you just talked about, the towers had like a $10,000 bill for a water charge. In the same situation, when you have a big swimming pool charge for a swimming pool leak, and then they bill you for the number of gallons for sewer based on your number of gallons of water, but it's not from your house, it's from a swimming pool. Is there a way to to determine how to compensate for that when it's a leak in a pool?
How that is handled is the resident with the pool deals with Pinellas County Water Department.
Carol, can you hear Mary?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand you.
You hear me? I help. She's gonna Mary's gonna answer this for you.
I'm sorry, I still don't understand you. What?
Hang on.
Yes, can you hear me, Carol?
I can now, yes.
Okay, how it's handled now is if a resident needs to fill a swimming pool, or if they have a leak like that, they deal directly with Pinellas County Water Department for any type of adjustment. The town would not handle something like that.
Okay, so you work directly with them? Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Is there anyone else that has any questions regarding any subject at this time? Okay, I believe that it concludes our public comment for this section. Please thank everyone. I will thank you, and off I go.
Thank you for that. Okay, under miscellaneous, special meeting is Friday, March 12th, 2020 at 3 p.m. Workshop meeting is Wednesday, March 31st, 2021 at 6 p.m. And the next regular meeting will be Wednesday, April 14th, 2021 at 6 p.m. And with that, okay, good evening.
I'd ask you all to sign the ratified bills before you leave.
Okay.